Welcome back, Soul Sisters, to the Hey Soul Sister podcast. Today's episode is a powerful one. We're diving into something that can change the entire trajectory of your life, your mindset, and your attitude. Because here's the truth, your thoughts are either building your future or blocking it. So your attitude is either opening doors or keeping you stuck in cycles. And if you've been craving change, if you felt frustrated, stuck, or like life keeps happening to you instead of for you, this episode is your wake up call. We're getting honest about the limiting beliefs we carry, the unconscious stories we repeat, and how to shift from fear and lack into possibility and power. This is about reclaiming your inner authority, rewriting the script, and stepping into the version of you that knows she was made for more. So get cozy, grab your journal, or take this with you on your walk, and let's talk about what's really keeping you stuck and how to rise above it. Boom!
Amazing. You killed it. You
So
killed
this
it.
morning, okay, I'll start because this morning I actually when I woke up in the middle of the night. I woke up at like 3 a.m. and my brain just goes and goes and goes like in the middle of the night if I wake up and I can't get back to sleep because I'm just like overthinking and I'm thinking about all the problems, all the things, and I can't get back to sleep. Finally, after about 2 hours of this, I get back to sleep. And then this morning when I wake up, I immediately start to go into the overthinking process and thinking about the problems and all of whatever, right? And then I decided,
Mhm.
okay, Whitley, what you need to do is like get out of your head. Number one, get out of your head. So if you're an overthinker or if you get stuck and you're like analysis paralysis or you're like worrying or doubting or maybe that you've just got some stress or maybe there's like a problem that you're trying to tackle in your life right now, the number one way that I always like get myself out of like that overthinking or out of that energy is to get out of my head and either into my heart or into my body. And then there's like a couple
Mhm.
ways you can do that. So if you want to get into your heart space, like there's so many different ways that you can do that, right? And I know that Sherry, like I've done breath work. So like breath work techniques that will really help you to get into your body and also into your heart space if you want. But this morning what I did was I dropped into gratitude. I was like, let me like switch the energy, like, drop into gratitude right now, you know?
Cool.
It's so powerful. And then after I
Mhm.
did the gratitude, I was like, "All right, now let me do my affirmations." Now I know you do EFT tapping, right? And I've been like experimenting with that, but I always have always done affirmations. So anytime that I'm like embodying a new version of myself or a new type of characteristic or something, I always do like affirmations. And so that was another thing that I did this morning. And then I was like, all right, let me like nourish my body. Let me give myself some like lemon
Mhm.
water and then let me get out and get into my body. So I went for my walk. And immediately I was like, I completely forgot about all the problems and all the worries that I like had on my mind when I first woke up. All of a sudden I started coming up with solutions. Like I was coming up with solutions with some of the things that I was worrying about the night before. And so I immediately took out my phone. I was telling you earlier, I started doing a video down on the beach. And I just wanted to I really wanted to share that because it's like, no matter where you're at in your journey, like I've been on this journey of like self discovery and healing and all the things for so many years, guys. But yet I still get stuck in my head. I still get in my own way. I've just learned to like develop the tools to be able to harness when I find myself in those situations or in that energy, right? To be able to flip it. And then here's the thing is like awareness is key. So the sooner that you can recognize when you're in these states that you don't really want to be in or that aren't serving you, the easier it is for you to pull yourself out of those states, right? So for you, Sherry, what are some of the things that like you do? Because I know like you can relate to this. We can all relate to this kind of stuff as women, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny you said gratitude was your theme for this morning because mine was also gratitude. And I was sitting outside with my coffee. And because it's summer now, I get to do that. And so in the winter, I feel like I'm cooped up on the couch in the morning. And I said, you know what? I'm done sitting inside. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to listen to the birds chirp and I'm going to sit down. And the word gratitude came up a lot. And it also gave me inspiration to send somebody a video who is currently in hospice and is passing away right now. And so I wanted to send him a video, which I was way overdue, but I was avoiding it because you never know what to say to somebody when they're in that state, right? And so I was like, you know what? The theme of this video is about gratitude. The theme about us living as the best versions of ourselves and not sweating the small stuff and not overthinking everything, not, attitude is everything, right? Your gratitude is everything. Attitude and gratitude, right? And this man who came to the gym every single day with his wife to work out had the attitude of gratitude. And he showed us what it means to actually live a life of, of light and kindness and like inclusivity and non-judgment and everything. And the thing is like when we do that, it allows others to spread that, right? And so this kind of mindset, be around the people that give you that. Not, it's like switching your mindset is great, but where are you sitting in your life? What are you surrounding yourself? Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are the experiences that, you're indulging in every day or choosing to indulge in? And it's not just about rewiring the brain and saying affirmations or doing EFT. It's actually sitting in being present and recognizing that this life is short, that we will leave someday, but it's not the loss that we need to focus on. It is what we're going to leave when our impact when we do leave. And so the video was all about me saying, I have so much gratitude. We have so much gratitude for what you gave us. And also like, the impact that you left us. And we're the ones that are lucky and blessed to be around you. And so I think that it's so important to recognize the bigger picture. Not just, hey, I'm stressed out today. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and looking at all the things that your life is bad. And gratitude is about recognizing the things that you have right now in this present moment and being mindful of those things and recognizing where you can and you cannot control certain situations. And for example, this weekend, I went on a wedding. Okay. And I had to shoot this 10-hour wedding, and I went and parked in a hotel parking garage. I went in there and went to the rooms. I did the photo shoot, whatever. I had only 20 minutes to get to the ceremony. So I get into the parking garage and I'm like clicking my key thing on my car. And usually it just opens, right? My car would not open. It would not open. I'm in the parking garage. Okay. So I'm like, there's nobody else around me. I'm trying to open this car and this thing won't work. And I'm like, all right, Sherry, calm down. Center yourself. What is the solution to this thing right now? How are you like really controlling the situation? Because your attitude is not going to change the situation, right? And so I'm like, all right, calm down. What are the solutions that I can do right now? So I open up the key. There's a key. I put it, because it's not, automatic with the key, you put it in the car. So I open the car. But then I get in the car, I can't put the key anywhere. I don't know where to put it. I've never done this before. So then I go, all right, click, click, click. Car isn't starting. And I'm like, shit, I got to get to the ceremony. If I miss the fucking ceremony, it's over, right? Like they're not going to be able to get photos. So I take the key and I'm like, all right, Sherry, what can you do now? So I take it and I put it right close to the ignition. And I'm like, start, please God, please God, please God. I'm praying and the car starts. Okay. Now I'm like, yes, all right, I'm there. I get to the place where I pay to get out, right? I put my ticket in. I put my credit card in. Decline. I put my other credit card in. Decline. I put my third credit card in. Decline. I'm like,
Oh,
what is happening right now?
yeah.
So I have a lot of credit cards that are old in my case. I never throw them away for some reason. I'm stupid, right? So then I, I'm like trying. It's like playing roulette, like Russian roulette. I'm like, which credit card works?
Girl,
So I take
we're gonna talk about
a
that.
credit card. Okay, here's the lucky one. I put it in, the thing opens. I'm like, yes. I get there with like 10 minutes to spare. Okay. I get there and everything's great. And I'm like, Sherry, you did it. Like you didn't have to change your attitude to get the thing that you wanted. Because the thing is like my middle child can relate. He's over dramatic. If you have a child that's over dramatic, where it's like everything bothers them to the extent where they go into like almost like panic attack, that's how we should train ourselves not to be, because it doesn't allow for like clarity for solutions to come in. So I feel like that's what kind of I've learned around being mindful, being, the attitude has to shift and like really looking at how can I fix this problem right now versus looking at it as like, oh my gosh, I'm spiraling out of control. The world is ending. It's all over now because this happened, So I think that's where I can say that it's helped me a lot, but also, like you said, gratitude. Waking up in the morning and saying, "I'm grateful for the things that I do have, and what can I do today to be super mindful of how I show up and how I react?" And we're not superhuman, right? We're all going to react in a way that sometimes is not our best look, right? All of us have done it where sometimes it just like it's too much for us to handle and we can't hold it all in. But I think that's where, practicing communication with our talking to ourselves on a regular basis and checking in
Mhm.
on how we feel and talking with those around us too, so that we don't hold things in, so that those reactions don't become explosive, that, we've lost all control
Yeah.
of our
I just
lives.
wanna go back to that part where you were talking about doing basically like a tribute video to your friend, and I think that's so beautiful, and I'm so glad that all of you are doing that. But then, like, kinda touching on the whole gratitude thing and really thinking about life, like how you were saying, being in the present moment and really, like, focusing on the things that are going well in your life, like, even just, like, the the basic essentials that we all have, every most of us have, that we wake up to every single day, which is like, a roof over our heads, food in our fridge, electricity to be able to like switch on the lights, heat or cool our homes, or to cook our food, all of those like basic needs that are actually truly met. And this morning when I was giving like gratitude for those things, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, girl, you won the lottery. Like, you woke up today winning the lottery. Like, there's no reason for you to there's no reason for you to
Exactly.
stop or let anything stop you or let anything hold you back into like really just going to the day feeling so full and as though like your cup runneth over, and being able to give that energy out into the world, give out that love, that light, that joy out into the world, right? And I think that like when we pause, and this is something that I've always done, especially in the times where I'm being a huge baby or life just like has really like kicked me in the balls and is like really really rough, right? The number one thing that I think helps so much, that has helped me so much, is really stopping and saying to myself, there's always somebody out there who has it so much worse than you do. There's
Mhm.
somebody out
Yeah.
there who's waking up hungry. There's somebody out there who's waking up who doesn't have a roof over their head. There's somebody out there waking up who has lost their entire family overnight. And when you start to think about when you shift your perspective and you shift your attitude in the fact of like where you're at in all of the things that you have around you, like your kids, your loved ones, your family, your friends, it really really can help you shift out of that state of worry, out of that state of fear, out of that state of stress, whatever it is that like is bringing your energy down. And if you can really feel into the things that you have right now and you ground yourself in the gratitude for what you have right now, it really is like, I think it's a game changer. At least for me, it's always been a
Mhm.
game changer in terms of allowing me to shift my state of being automatically. And I think I've learned this over the years too. And like when you're talking about a crazy story of like trying to get out of the parking garage to get to your wedding, like so you can shoot the ceremony, and just like, oh my gosh, wow. Like it's funny how life will, like, I always like to say like make fun of it. Like life is like testing you, life is like teaching you something in the moment, right? But like I think it's amazing that
Mhm.
you didn't over like, cuz you literally could have lost your shit, you could have panicked, you could have been, right? But you kept calm and you were just like you just kept, instead of worrying and reacting, you were just like, okay, next solution, right? This makes me think about the time when we had the retreat back in May. And I remember I had to fly out that morning. And I remember leading up to that, sure, like, a whole bunch of things
Yeah.
had happened, like, I didn't even get my ticket confirmation for that morning to fly out, and I was, like, stressed, and I was calling up Flair, like, over and over, and it was, like, so hard to get a hold of. Anyways, finally, it was all good. That morning, I had to fly out the day of our retreat early that morning from Toronto to get to New Brunswick, and I remember that morning, I got up super early, I was up at, like, 3:30 AM, had all my stuff prepared, I was good, right? And then I just remember calling my Uber 10 minutes prior to the original time that I set. So I give myself extra time. But then out of nowheres, we just started having like a massive storm. It was like torrential downpour. It was like raining hard. And I call my Uber, and usually an Uber here in Toronto is like it comes in like within a minute, right? And it wasn't even connecting me to a driver. Okay, 10 minutes goes by,
Mhm.
no driver. 15 minutes goes by. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm panicked, right? Finally, I get connected to a driver and I'm sitting there, I'm down in my lobby, right? Because I live in a condo and I'm down in my lobby and I'm waiting. And I'm like, holy shit, like this driver is like taking forever. I'm like, I got to get to the airport, right? I fly out at 7 a.m. and it's now like 5:30 a.m. and I still haven't even got to the airport. So I cancel that
Mhm.
driver. I get another driver. It's still connecting, still connecting. I'm not getting an Uber. So like I want to panic, right? I want to panic. I want to react. And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Just keep calm, right? And I'm waiting and I'm like trying to come up with a solution. I'm like, can I drive there? I'm like, no, because then parking's going to be disastrous. Like it'll take me too long. That's not going to work. Can I get a different taxi? Probably not. And then I remembered that a car pulled up in the front of my building. And I kid you not, like in my mind, I'm like, I wonder if that person would drive me to the airport. And then as I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, it's got to be an Uber. It's got to be someone else's Uber, right? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, maybe I can do a ride share with them, right? Because we do ride shares here in Toronto. But then I'm like, okay, wait, I'm in this big ass city. There's like, who knows what part of the city that this person's going to.
Mhm.
So it's not going to work. So I'm sitting there in my lobby. My heart is pounding. My stomach, I feel sick to my stomach. I'm just like, I'm praying to God. I'm like, God, like, please, like, help me get here. Help me. And then I was just like, you know what? This is so out of my control right now. And there's nothing that I can do about it. I
Yeah.
surrender. And I literally remember saying that, like, I surrender. And then all of a sudden, I hear the elevator door open. And then I will never forget it, the sweet sound of hearing luggage roll across the floor in the lobby. And I instantly, in my mind, I'm like, they're going to the airport. So I got up so quick and I run over. And it's this lady. Okay, this is a lady with her luggage. And I remember always like seeing her like passing by on the elevators and saying hello. That's about it, right? And I said, hi. I was like, are you going to the airport? And she's like, yeah, 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 yeah. And I was like, so I'm trying to explain to her my situation. This girl's probably thinking, like, this crazy person coming at me. Like, anyways, so she says, yeah, 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 come, come, come. So she lets me ride in the Uber with her. Okay. I have no cash on me either.
That's
Everything's
crazy.
digital, right? Like we're all paying with cards nowadays. So I'm like, I get in, I'm thanking her like so much, and I'm just like, I'll give you cash, but like, can you do e-transfer or whatever? So, anyways, she's on her way to North Carolina for her grandson's graduation. Okay, and as we pull out, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make it. So we pull out, we're driving, and then it didn't even occur to me. I'm like, wait, I was like, you're going to the Pearson airport, right? There's two airports in Toronto. He's like, "Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, yeah."
right.
So, okay, I'll
Oh
just say
god.
that she was going to the exact same airport at the exact same time of day, which there was
Mhm.
literally nobody coming and going out of my building. She was the only person that was coming into the building, and she was going to the same airport terminal as me. What are the odds of that?
That's
What are
crazy.
the odds of that?
Yeah.
And I just like I think to myself, I'm like just in those moments of like, what if I had just kept reacting and reacting? And I remember having that moment in my mind of being like, if you feed into the narrative that you're not going to make it, Whitley, chances are you're not going to make it. But what if you just feed into the narrative of like, I'm going to get there somehow and I'm not going to react and I'm just
Mhm.
going to totally surrender to the situation, even though how crazy it is. And then like how the universe lined that up, I have no idea. Anyways, ended up becoming friends with her. Her name is Tara. She lives down the hall from me and we have tea together.
That's crazy.
Like,
See, there was a reason though, right? There's
yes,
always a reason to the madness that happens to us, right? And I mean, I have so many stories, but I can't tell them all on this podcast today because we don't have time. But there's so many stories. Like recently, when my house got flooded and I didn't understand why, I couldn't
yes.
control it. And then all of a sudden, realizing insurance could pay us a whole bunch of money and my husband could do the work himself. So we got, money for the summer. So, like, I think like I could list out so many things that happened that I felt like I had no control over. And like you saying that too is like surrender, just like say, you know what, I can't control the situation, but I could look for solutions and hear signs or things I could do next because the universe is always sending you things, right? And it's always there for a reason. It's always doing these things for a reason. We might not understand it at the moment, but later on, it kind of made sense to us, right? Like you were supposed to meet that woman for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I knew that you would make it to the retreat. I knew it. And it was like the other part of it is the hope and faith that you have,
Yeah.
the faith that you have, the trust that you have that everything's supposed to work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Mhm.
Because Yeah, the more we can recognize that and let go of all outcomes, sometimes, just sometimes, it turns out even better than you thought it would.
Even better.
Right? So
Yes.
you have to leave room for that to happen, like maybe meeting certain people. Like every time we go out, Whitley, you and I, when we go out in Toronto, we always say this. We're like, lead us to people that, match our energy and the conversations that we have and allow it to flow the way it's supposed to flow and create something different for us today, like that we never saw. Right. And we
Yeah.
did that. We do that all the time. And we always end up meeting people in our lives that, whether they have a small impact or a big impact, or they are part of our lives later, or just for that short moment, it teaches us something, right? And so allow the adventure, allow the surprises to happen in your life. If you can have that mindset or that attitude, right, which we're talking about today, the mindset and attitude, you will see things come in where you do not have that close grip on of control of how you want the outcome to be. And if you let go of the outcome, if you let go of all of that, you can sit within the journey. You can actually live instead of being like, this is how it should work out. This is
Mm-hmm.
how it needs to be because I said so, because this is how it's always done. No, sometimes you just need to go with the flow, and there's so many situations where I totally have been in that. And there's one time, I just wanted to share this one thing. There was a wedding I did and it was a hurricane. And we did this whole entire wedding in a hurricane. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stress out. Whatever happens, happens. Everything went to shit. They had to change venue because their venue canceled. They had to change decor, everything last minute. And this wedding was like, you know what? I'm going to do what I need to do at this wedding. That was also another wedding where I got caught in that parking garage, by the way. That parking garage is cursed. I'm telling you right now. But I made it. And then at the end of the night, I took one photo, and it was in the rain. And I set up my lights and I waited all summer to do this one photo. I was like, I just want an opportunity to do this one photo in the rain.
Hmm.
Look at the rain as an opportunity. Okay. That was my mindset. And I created this most beautiful, magical photo that it went viral. It was like probably my favorite photo of all of my years of doing photography, right? And I think when you look at things as, you know what, it could turn out even better than you thought because the couple was like, this is the best wedding ever. It was better than the first idea. It was better than the first place we were going to go to. Everything was better. So like the fact that your attitude, because their attitude was different too. If your attitude switches to allowing that
Mm.
magic to unfold,
Yeah.
it's going to, right? But if you're stuck on having an outcome, like I said, and gripping onto that, it's not going to be what you want because your expectations are at a certain level. If your expectations are up here, you're always going to want to be that, but then you're not allowing it to be up here, right? So open up that
Yeah.
and really embody, that gratitude and that like flow of whatever comes your way,
Yeah,
because
it is
that's
so
where the
true,
magic
like, the
happens.
magic really does happen when you surrender. That's why I said, like, I live my life in surrender. Like, I've learned that the life's like, most beautiful blessings and surprises and even, like, little magic moments always happen when I just fully surrender, right? And it's, like, letting go of the how of things and not being so rigid and stuck. I think it's
Mhm.
okay to have expectations. Like, I have very high expectations for a lot of things in my life, and that's okay. But at the same time, I'm not so rigid in the sense of like, my expectations are this high and it's got to be this way and it's got to look this way. I'm always like, how can it get better? How can it be better? How can, like, what little
Mm,
surprises can you bring to me along the way? And I think that when you
right.
allow yourself to really like trust the journey in front of you to unfold, you start to like really align yourself with this divine magnetic power that, a lot of us refer to as maybe the universe or God or source or creator, right? And I think that like when we align ourselves to that, we really do allow ourselves to like flow, ebb and flow with the magic of the universe. And a lot of the things that come our way, the one thing I want to touch on, because, we're speaking about mindset, we're talking about attitude, right? It's like, okay, awesome, Whitley. Like, yeah, getting into the flow of the universe and having all these like magical, like little surprises and things sound amazing. But my life actually isn't like that every day. And my life is
Mhm.
actually stressful right now in this chapter that I'm in. Well, one thing that I would say to you is what are some things that you can start to change internally versus working on the external things? Because oftentimes I think that
Yeah.
we try to control the external parts of our life when in fact it's really the internal parts of our lives that we can, number one, can only control, and number two will be the easiest way to be able to influence the external, right? So, like when you work on the internal parts of ourselves, being our mindset, our mental, our emotional, our physical, our spiritual, health, then we can start to influence and shape the reality, the external events that are happening all around us, right? So, one thing is if like you're going through a really tough period in your life right now, maybe, you're transitioning jobs, maybe you're on the fence of like even being at your current job, you want to branch out into doing something that's more meaningful and impactful for you. Or maybe you're navigating relationships in your life and you're like, you know what, I just feel like I'm outgrowing this. And but hard as it is like holding on to these relationships, it feels like it's even harder to cut ties with these relationships. Well, number one, I would just say, because I've been there too. Sherry's been there. We've all been there. And number one, thing that I would say is what are some of the things that you can control internally that will help you to navigate these changes, these difficult times that maybe that you're going through. And I always like to start with, okay, well, where do I see myself going? Right? Because oftentimes, like when we're in these situations that are like bogging our energy down and making us feel not quite like ourselves, that's such a huge indication that something's off. Right. And
Mhm.
when we want to be able to adjust the mindset and the attitude, we really need to understand, well, who are we being right now that isn't in alignment with who we know we want to be, right? That's where we got to start. And when we can answer that question, get clear on like, who does she look like? Then it's going to be a lot
Mhm.
easier to start to ask yourself, okay, well, what are some of like what's her mindset like? What are some of the things that she's
Mhm.
doing each day, right? What are some of those little like micro
Mhm.
habits that she has? Because then it gets easier for you to adjust, change. And I'm not saying like you have to do all of this overnight because change is a slow progress at times, and that's okay. But then you can start to make those little minor changes in your day to day routines. And as we were talking about this basically throughout this whole entire episode, is like having that attitude of gratitude. Because having gratitude costs you literally nothing, costs nothing. And you can do it at any time of the day. You can do it multiple times of the day. And when you can start to train your brain to switch into a state of attitude of gratitude, then it really will start to change that inner state. Right. And then as you're making those slow adjustments to your habits, your routines, and the person that you're becoming, it really then becomes a little bit easier to make those mindset shifts. It becomes easier to have like that instant self awareness when something's off
Mhm.
and to train yourself to respond versus react, right? So like Sherry's example with the the parking garage, right? How she went into responding, okay, this is kind of like out of my control, but I'm going to try and do what I can to be able to get myself out of this situation to get to where I need to be, right? So versus reacting, because when
Mhm.
you react, you're just like charging, giving that like negative emotional charge a little bit like more than it needs to have. So when you can really put all of these little pieces together, you really start to find that change becomes easier over time. But then you start to realize that it's not as hard to make those mindset shifts. It's not as hard to make those attitude shifts. It's really just comes down to being able to navigate your internal world. And that's it. Now, navigating your internal world and really aligning yourself to the woman that you want to be versus the woman that you used to be. And that's it. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I think you hit it. You hit the nail on the head with all of that, and hopefully our listeners will take away something from this, you know. It's not an overnight thing like she said, but it's something that, we're constantly working to be aware of in our day-to-day. So, we hope this resonated with most of you today, and if there's anything you wanna share with us, maybe some of those crazy stories that we shared, if you have a crazy story to share, we wanna hear it.
Yes.
Where was the situation that you changed your attitude and things shifted for
Yeah. And
you?
what was the
Like,
outcome?
and maybe something turned out better?
Yeah.